What if your greatest emotional weaknesses were actually secret signals pointing the way to your greatest strength? True power is not the absence of triggers, but the ability to face them without flinching, turning their energy into your own. This is the path of the emotional warrior. Recognize emotional triggers instantly like a warrior. Compiled and published by Stoic Dominion. Lesson 1. Emotional triggers are not the enemy. Imagine a lone sentinel, a warrior guarding the walls of a great fortress at dawn. In the distance, he sees a flicker of movement, a glint of sun on steel. An alarm bell sounds. The warrior does not curse the bell. He does not see the bell as his enemy. He understands that the bell is a valued messenger, a loyal servant providing him with crucial, life-saving information. The bell is not the threat, it is the signal of a potential threat, and it is a call to action, to awaken us, to strength. This is the inner conflict we all face with our emotions. We have been taught to see our emotional triggers, those sudden flashes of anger, anxiety, or shame, as the enemy. We treat the sounding of our internal alarm bell as a flaw, a sign of weakness. We try to silence the bell, to suppress the trigger, to pretend we don't feel it. The problem is that a silenced bell is a dereliction of duty. By treating our triggers as the enemy, we wage a war against our own warning system. This internal battle is one we can never win. It only leads to exhaustion, self-loathing, and a constant, draining state of vigilance against ourselves. It makes us more vulnerable, because when the real threat arrives, we are caught completely unprepared, having ignored the messenger that was trying to help us. The transformative solution is to completely reframe your relationship with your emotions and understand that emotional triggers are not the enemy. They are your scouts, your sentinels, your alarm bells. They are messengers from the deep territory of your own mind. The core idea, inspired by Stoic self-awareness, is that a trigger is simply a signal. It is a neutral piece of information indicating that something in the present moment has touched upon an old wound, a limiting belief, or an unexamined value. The trigger itself has no power. It is like the glint of sun on steel in the distance. The power lies in how the warrior responds to the signal. By viewing your triggers as valuable data points, you shift from a mindset of shame and fear to one of curiosity and strategic awareness. These signals are not just warnings, they are coded messages from your past, pointing to the exact locations of your unhealed wounds. Learning to decode these messages is the path to true healing and strength, not just defense. You stop fighting your own mind and start learning from it. To begin this profound shift in perspective, you must learn to welcome the messenger. The first actionable step is to practice mindful acknowledgement. The next time you feel a trigger activate, instead of immediately resisting it, simply pause and say to yourself, "Ah, there is the signal. The alarm is sounding." This act of neutral observation separates you from the immediate emotional reaction and prevents you from identifying with the alarm as who you are. The second step is to express gratitude. It may feel strange at first, but silently thank the trigger. Thank you for this information. Thank you for showing me an area that needs my attention. This changes your relationship from adversarial to collaborative, from a battle to an exploration. The third step is to ask a powerful question. What is this trigger trying to tell me about my underlying beliefs? This transforms you from a victim of the emotion into a detective of your own psyche, using the trigger as a map to buried treasure. The benefits of this practice are immediate and profound. The shame you feel around your emotional reactions will begin to dissolve, replaced by a sense of empowered curiosity. You will stop wasting energy fighting yourself and start using that energy to understand yourself. This reframe is the foundation for all true emotional mastery, as it turns your greatest weaknesses into a map that shows you exactly where you need to build your strength. You become the wise warrior who values his sentinels, knowing they are the key to defending the fortress. Your practice today is to simply notice one emotional trigger without judgment. When it arises, just label it a signal and observe it with curiosity instead of fear. Once we learn to see our triggers not as enemies but as messengers, our next task is to become skilled scouts, able to recognize their approach from a distance, long before the alarm bell needs to sound. Next, we will learn to spot the subtle signs of a trigger before the emotional reaction hits. Please subscribe to Stoic Dominion to continue your warrior's training. Lesson 2. Spot the signs before reaction hits. Imagine a master scout moving silently through a dense, wild forest. He is not just looking for obvious dangers. His senses are attuned to the subtle signs that precede them. He notices a flock of birds suddenly taking flight, a single snapped twig on the path, an unnatural silence where there should be the hum of insects. These are the faint, early signals that an unseen predator is near. By recognizing these signs, he has time to prepare to choose his ground and to act with intention rather than panic. He is a master of his environment because he is a master of perception. This is the inner conflict of the untrained mind. We are often oblivious to the subtle signals that precede a full-blown emotional reaction. We are like a novice in the forest, noticing nothing until the predator is already upon us. We are suddenly consumed by rage or overcome with anxiety, and we feel like it came out of nowhere. The problem is that emotional reactions rarely come out of nowhere. The aftermath is a familiar and painful scene. Cleaning up the mess, making apologies, losing credibility, and the hollow feeling of asking, "Why did I let that happen again?" These reactions are almost always preceded by a trail of subtle signs. A recurring thought pattern, a slight shift in perspective, a familiar negative narrative. Because we fail to spot these early signs, we are perpetually ambushed by our own emotions, losing control and reacting from a place of surprise and panic. The transformative solution is to become a scout of your own mind, to learn to spot the signs before the reaction hits. This is the discipline of cultivating a heightened state of self-awareness, paying attention to the subtle weather patterns of your inner world. The core Stoic principle here is prosoche, a state of constant, vigilant mindfulness. It is the practice of watching your own thoughts without immediate judgment or attachment. By developing this inner scout, you can learn to recognize the signature thought patterns that always precede a specific emotional explosion. You begin to see the snapped twig of a self-critical thought that leads to shame, or the unnatural silence of a resentful narrative that builds towards an angry outburst. This early detection is the key to proactive emotional management. It is the difference between being ambushed and choosing your battleground. It gives you the crucial seconds you need to prepare your response, rather than being overtaken by a reaction. To develop this perceptual skill, you must become a student of your own thought patterns. The first actionable step is to perform an emotional autopsy. After you have experienced a strong, negative emotional reaction, take some time to reflect once you are calm. Work backward. What was the thought right before the emotion exploded, and the thought before that? Ask deeper questions. Was I tired? Hungry? Had I just experienced a different, smaller stressor? Trace the mental and physical trail back to its origin. Keep a journal of this process. The second step is to identify the recurring narratives. You will begin to notice that the same scout signals appear again and again. For example, you might find that the thought, "This isn't fair," is almost always the precursor to an outburst of anger. Or the thought, "What if I fail?" is the signal for an anxiety spiral. The third step is to create a mental alert. Once you have identified a key trigger thought, make a conscious intention to notice it the next time it appears. When the thought, "This isn't fair," arises, your inner scout should immediately say, "Alert! The anger sequence is initiating. Prepare." The benefits of spotting these early signs are immense. You will dramatically reduce the frequency of emotional hijackings, as you will be able to intervene before the emotion gains momentum. You will move from being the victim of the ambush to the strategic warrior who sees the enemy coming and chooses his ground. This practice will give you a profound sense of control and self-mastery, as you will no longer feel like a victim of your own sudden moods. You will move through the world with the calm confidence of the Master Scout, aware of your inner landscape and prepared for whatever may arise within it. Your practice is to choose one recent emotional reaction you regret. Take 5 minutes to trace back the thought pattern that led to it. Identify just one of the early scout signals. Spotting the mental signs is a powerful skill, but our minds and bodies are deeply connected. Often, the very first signal of an approaching emotional storm is not a thought but a physical sensation. Next, we will learn how to map your body's immediate signals to gain an even earlier warning. Like this video, if you are committed to becoming a master of your inner world. Lesson 3. Map the body's immediate signals. Imagine a skilled seismologist monitoring a vast volcanic landscape. He knows that before a great eruption, the Earth itself sends out warnings. There are faint tremors, almost imperceptible, a subtle increase in ground temperature, or a slight shift in the pressure deep beneath the surface. He does not wait for the plume of smoke and ash to appear. He trusts these subtle, physical signals as his most reliable and earliest indicators of an impending event, allowing him to issue warnings and take preventative measures long before the catastrophe. The inner conflict for many of us is that we are completely disconnected from the wisdom of our own bodies. We live almost entirely in our heads, lost in the world of thought, ignoring the rich tapestry of physical information our body is constantly providing. We treat the body as a mere vehicle for the brain, rather than as an intelligent partner in our emotional ecosystem. The problem is that our bodies often register an emotional trigger long before our conscious mind does. Our ancient primal fight-or-flight system bypasses the rational brain, preparing the body for battle in an instant. That flash of anger has a physical signature, a tightening in the jaw, a heat in the chest. That wave of anxiety is preceded by a shallowing of the breath or a clenching in the stomach. Because we are not attuned to these first tremors, we miss our earliest opportunity to intervene, only becoming aware of the emotion when it is already a full-blown eruption. The transformative solution is to become a seismologist of your own physical being, to learn to map the body's immediate signals. This is the practice of bringing your awareness out of the abstract world of thought and grounding it in the concrete reality of your physical sensations. The core Stoic idea is the deep unity of mind and body. They are not two separate entities, but two aspects of a single, integrated self. Your body is the physical manifestation of your mental state, and it often speaks a faster, more honest language than your thoughts. By learning to listen to these physical whispers, you can detect an emotional trigger at its absolute point of A. This gives you a critical head start, allowing you to manage the energy of the emotion when it is just a small tremor, rather than waiting until it is a volcanic eruption that overwhelms your reason. This practice also builds a powerful intuition. You begin to feel a bad situation or a disingenuous person before you can logically explain why. To begin mapping your internal landscape, you must practice embodied awareness. The first actionable step is to conduct regular body scans. Once or twice a day, take 60 seconds to close your eyes and mentally scan your body from head to toe. Don't try to change anything. Just notice. Is there tension in your shoulders? Is your jaw tight? Is your stomach fluttering? What is the quality of your breathing? Simply gather the data without judgment. The second step is to connect sensations to emotions. The next time you experience a strong emotion, pause for a moment and ask, where am I feeling this in my body? Intentionally link the feeling of anger to the heat in your face or the feeling of shame to the sinking sensation in your gut. Create a mental or written map of your personal emotional signatures. The third step is to use your body to regulate your mind. When you notice a trigger sensation, like a clenched jaw, consciously relax it. Take a single, deep diaphragmatic breath to calm a racing heart. You can use your body as a direct lever to influence your emotional state, calming the physical tremor before it can trigger a mental earthquake. The benefits of this practice are extraordinary. You will develop a much deeper and more intuitive form of self-awareness. You will be able to catch emotional triggers seconds or even minutes earlier than before, giving you a massive advantage in managing them. You will feel more grounded and less lost in your head, creating a state of calm, centered presence that is palpable to others. This mind-body connection is a source of immense wisdom and control. You are no longer just the king in the castle. You are the seismologist who understands the very ground upon which his kingdom is built. Your practice is to set an alarm for 3 different times tomorrow. When the alarm sounds, simply stop what you're doing and notice the primary physical sensation in your body. Just notice. This is how you begin to listen. Once we have used our mind and body to detect a trigger, the warrior's decisive action is to reframe it, to strip it of its power and forge it into something useful. Next, we will learn how to reframe any trigger with the power of Stoic clarity. Please share in the comments one physical signal you often ignore. Lesson 4. Reframe the trigger with Stoic clarity. Imagine a blacksmith is handed a lump of raw, unformed iron. It is dark, heavy, and has no inherent purpose. One blacksmith, untrained and reactive, might see it as a useless, ugly weight. He might cast it aside in frustration or use it as a clumsy weapon to smash things. A master blacksmith, however, sees something entirely different. He sees the potential within the iron. He knows that with the application of fire, intention, and skill, he can transform this raw material into either a sharp, life-saving sword or a sturdy, protective shield. The iron itself is neutral. Its ultimate meaning is determined by the vision and skill of the smith. This is the inner conflict we face the moment a trigger is recognized. The trigger itself, the critical comment, the frustrating event, the feeling of anxiety, is like that lump of raw iron. It is neutral data. Our reactive mind, however, immediately forges it into a weapon to use against ourselves. It creates a story of victimhood, of injustice, of catastrophe, which confirms our deepest fears and reinforces our limiting beliefs. We take the raw material of the trigger and instantly craft it into a painful, self-destructive narrative that prevents us from seeing any other possibility. The transformative solution is to become the master blacksmith of your own mind, to learn to reframe the trigger with Stoic clarity. This is the art of consciously choosing what you will forge from the raw material of your experience. The core Stoic principle here is that our suffering comes not from the event, but from the judgment we attach to it. The trigger is just the iron. The story we tell ourselves about the trigger is what determines whether it becomes a source of pain or a tool for growth. To reframe a trigger is to intentionally apply the fire of your reason to it, stripping away the initial, reactive story and deliberately forging a new, more empowering one. This is the essence of turning obstacles into opportunities, a central tenet of a warrior's mindset. You are not denying the reality of the trigger, you are taking sovereign control over its meaning. This is the ultimate act of personal agency, shifting from "you made me feel this way" to "this happened and I will now decide how I will use it." To become a master of this mental forge, you must practice cognitive craftsmanship. The first actionable step is to separate the objective event from your subjective story. We've touched on this before, but it's crucial here. State the plain facts. My presentation was criticized. Then identify the story. I am a failure and everyone knows it. See them as 2 separate things. The second step is to actively challenge the initial negative story. Ask powerful questions. What is another way to look at this? What would the wisest version of myself say about this situation? What is the opportunity for growth hidden within this event? This opens up new possibilities beyond the initial reactive interpretation. The third step is to deliberately write a new, empowering story. For example, this criticism is valuable feedback that will make my next presentation even stronger. This is a chance to demonstrate my resilience and professionalism. This new story must be believable and align with your values. The benefits of mastering the reframe are immense. You will effectively become immune to the power of triggers to derail your emotional state. You will develop a profoundly optimistic and proactive mindset, seeing every challenge as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. Your resilience will become almost limitless, as you will be able to metabolize any life event, no matter how difficult, into fuel for your personal growth. You cease to be a passive consumer of your reality and become its active co-creator. You are the master blacksmith, capable of turning any lump of iron life throws at you into a tool for your own victory. Your practice is to take one small trigger you experience this week. Write down your initial negative story about it. Then, deliberately write down at least 2 other, more empowering possible interpretations. Reframing gives us control over the meaning of a trigger. But to make this power consistent, we must prepare our minds in advance, fortifying them against future attacks. Next, we will learn how to build mental armor with the power of inner commands. Please like this video to support our mission of forging stronger minds. Lesson 5. Fortify your mind with inner commands. Imagine a warrior preparing for a great battle. He does not simply walk onto the field and hope for the best. Long before the first sword is drawn, he undergoes a rigorous training regimen. He strengthens his body, spars with his comrades, and most importantly, he fortifies his mind. He visualizes the chaos of battle, he anticipates his own fear, and he drills his responses until they are second nature. He has a set of core principles, a warrior's code, that he has memorized and can call upon in an instant to guide his actions when panic threatens to take hold. This preparation is what makes him a warrior and not a victim. The inner conflict for many of us is that we walk into the battles of our daily lives completely unprepared. We feel mentally fragile, where a single negative comment can ruin our entire day. We have no mental training regimen. We have not anticipated the triggers that we know are coming. We haven't fortified our minds with the principles that can guide us through emotional chaos. So when a trigger hits, we are easily overwhelmed. We are like the untrained soldier who drops his shield and runs at the first roar of the enemy because he has never prepared himself for the reality of the fight. The transformative solution is to fortify your mind with inner commands. This is the warrior's practice of proactive mental and spiritual preparation. It is the art of building your mental armor and drilling your psychological defenses before you ever need them. The core Stoic practice here is premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of future evils or difficulties. This is not pessimistic worrying. It is a pragmatic, strategic visualization. You calmly contemplate the triggers you are likely to face. A difficult meeting, a challenging conversation, a moment of temptation, and you decide in advance how your ideal self, your inner warrior, will respond. You create a series of simple, powerful inner commands or dogmata, core principles, that are based on your values and can be deployed instantly when a trigger is activated. This is like programming your mind with a battle plan for your emotions, ensuring your response is guided by wisdom, not instinct. To begin fortifying your mind, you must be a disciplined strategist. The first actionable step is to identify your recurring battles. What are the top 2 to 3 triggers that consistently disrupt your peace? Write them down. These are the attacks you must prepare for. The second step is to script your inner commands. For each trigger, create a short, powerful, first-person statement that affirms your chosen response. These should be positive commands, not negative ones. E.g., I remain calm and centered is more effective than don't get angry. For feeling insulted, your command might be, I remain in my fortress, their words are only sound. For anxiety, it could be, I focus only on my next wise action. These commands must be memorized until they are automatic. The third step is the daily drill. Spend 2 minutes each morning reviewing your likely battles for the day and rehearsing your inner commands. Visualize the trigger happening and see yourself successfully deploying your chosen command and remaining calm. The benefits of this proactive fortification are immense. You will feel a profound increase in your confidence and preparedness as you go about your day. The power of your triggers will be dramatically reduced because you will no longer be surprised by them. You will have a pre-planned, rational response ready to go. This practice moves you from a state of constant defense to a state of calm, strategic offense. You are setting the terms of your own mental engagement. You become the well-prepared warrior who walks onto the battlefield with a quiet confidence, not because he believes the fight will be easy, but because he knows he has done everything in his power to be ready for it. Your practice is to choose one recurring trigger, craft one simple, powerful inner command to counter it. Write it down and rehearse it 5 times. Fortifying the mind prepares us for the trigger, But the moment of the trigger itself is where the battle is won or lost. The ultimate skill in that moment is the mastery of time. Next, we will explore how to master the crucial delay between trigger and response. Make sure you are subscribed to Stoic Dominion to receive all our strategic briefings. Lesson 6. Master the delay before response. Imagine a master swordsman engaged in a duel. His opponent lunges forward with a powerful strike. The untrained fighter would react instantly and instinctively, likely with a clumsy block or a panicked retreat, leaving himself vulnerable. The master swordsman, however, appears to operate in a different dimension of time. He perceives the beginning of his opponent's attack, but within his mind there is a space of profound stillness. In that fraction of a second, that sacred pause, he is not panicking. He is observing the trajectory of the blade, assessing his options, and choosing the most effective and elegant response. His mastery is not in the speed of his reaction, but in the quality of his delay. This is the inner conflict that defines our emotional battles. We are faced with a trigger, the lunging blade, and our instinct is to react instantly. We fire back the angry email, we make the sarcastic comment, we storm out of the room. We collapse the space between stimulus and response to zero. In doing so, we surrender our greatest power, the power of choice. We become puppets of the moment, controlled by our most primitive impulses, and the results are almost always destructive, causing damage we later have to repair. The transformative solution is to become the master swordsman of your own mind and learn to master the delay before response. This is the conscious and deliberate act of creating and expanding the space between what happens to you and what you do about it. The core Stoic principle is that this space is the birthplace of all human freedom and wisdom. It is a sacred space because it is where you reclaim your humanity from your raw, animal instinct. In that pause, you can interrupt the primal circuit of trigger and reaction. You can allow the initial, hot wave of emotion to pass without taking action. You can let your rational mind come back online. You can consult your values, and you can choose a response that serves your long-term purpose, rather than one that merely satisfies a short-term impulse. Mastering this delay is the single most powerful technique for emotional regulation. It is the difference between being a slave to your passions and being the master of your soul. To cultivate this sacred pause, you must practice with intention. The first actionable step is to implement a simple, universal rule, the 3-breath rule. Before responding to any emotionally charged trigger, commit to taking 3 slow, deep, conscious breaths. This simple act can feel like an eternity in the heat of the moment, but it is often enough to short-circuit the immediate reactive impulse and give your rational mind a chance to engage. The second step is to have a go-to delaying phrase. Memorize a neutral statement you can use to buy yourself time. Phrases like, "That's an interesting point, I'll need to think about that," or "Let me get back to you on this," are powerful tools that create the space you need without escalating the situation. They signal wisdom, not weakness. The third step is to physically remove yourself from the stimulating environment if necessary. This is not an act of cowardice, but of supreme strategic wisdom. Excusing yourself to go to the restroom or step outside for a moment is a master-level move that allows you to regroup and choose your response from a place of power. The benefits of mastering the delay are nothing short of miraculous. You will witness a dramatic reduction in regrettable words and actions in your life. You will earn a reputation as a person who is thoughtful, calm, and wise under pressure, making you a more effective leader, partner, and friend. Your relationships will become more stable and less dramatic. Most importantly, you will feel a profound sense of self-command. You will feel the quiet confidence of the master swordsman, who is feared not for his rage, but for his stillness, his patience, and the deliberate precision of his chosen actions. Your practice is to apply the 3-breath rule just once today. The next time you feel triggered, to respond instantly. Give yourself the gift of 3 slow breaths. Feel the power you reclaim in that pause. Mastering the delay prevents the destructive release of emotional energy. But what if we could go one step further? What if we could harness that raw energy and transform it? In our final lesson, we will learn how to turn the power of a trigger into the fuel for discipline. Please share this video if you know someone who could benefit from this wisdom. Lesson 7. Turn emotional energy into discipline. Imagine a massive river, swollen with the rains of a recent storm. Its raw energy is immense and potentially destructive. If left unchecked, it will flood the surrounding land, destroying everything in its path. This untamed river is the raw energy of an emotional trigger. The surge of anger, the jolt of fear, the deep pull of sadness. This energy is powerful and chaotic. The untrained person either lets this river flood their life, causing destruction through reactive outbursts, or they try to suppress it, which is like building a weak dam that is destined to break under the pressure, leading to an even greater emotional hangover of regret and exhaustion. The inner conflict is that we see this emotional energy as a problem to be eliminated, rather than as a resource to be utilized. We don't realize that the immense power that threatens to destroy us can, if properly channeled, become a source of incredible constructive force. We see the flood, but we don't see the potential for electricity. The final and most advanced warrior skill is to learn to turn emotional energy into discipline. This is the ultimate act of psychological alchemy. It is the practice of building a dam and a series of turbines in your mind, not to stop the river, but to harness its power. The core idea is that energy is just energy. The jolt you get from a trigger is a powerful neutral force. It is your judgment that labels it bad anger or bad fear. A master of the self does not try to destroy this energy. He asks, how can I redirect this force toward a worthy purpose? He takes the raw power of his frustration and channels it into a difficult workout. He transforms the nervous energy of anxiety into focused preparation for a presentation. He uses the sting of criticism as fuel to prove his doubters wrong through disciplined, excellent work. The turbine of discipline converts the chaotic potential energy of emotion into the clean, kinetic energy of progress. He does not let the river flood the valley. He uses it to power a city. To become this master of emotional energy, you must become a strategic engineer of your own mind. The first actionable step is to create a discipline menu. Before you are triggered, create a short, written list of pre-approved, constructive actions you can take when you feel that surge of energy. This menu should include physical activities, push-ups, a sprint, focused work, tackling the hardest task on your to-do list, or creative outlets, writing, playing an instrument. The second step is to link the trigger to the new action. When you feel the familiar energy of a trigger, your new drilled response is not to lash out, but to immediately consult your menu and choose an action. This creates a new neural pathway, consciously redirecting the energy flow from a destructive path to a constructive one. The third step is to practice what is called sublimation. Actively say to yourself, I am feeling a surge of anger. I will now channel this energy into my workout and set a new personal record. This conscious act of redirection is you taking control of the floodgates. The benefits of this practice represent the pinnacle of self-mastery. You will transform a source of weakness and destruction into your primary source of fuel for growth and achievement. You will find that the very moments that used to defeat you are now the moments that propel you forward with incredible force. You will become unstoppable because every challenge, every trigger, and every attack only serves to give you more energy to pour into your disciplined purpose. You are no longer afraid of the river because you are the master engineer who controls the dam. You welcome the rain, knowing it will only give you more power to light up your world. Your final practice is to create your discipline menu today. Write down 3 constructive actions you can take the next time you feel the surge of a powerful emotion. Be ready to channel the river. Emotional triggers, then, are not chains that bind you. They are keys. They are not signs of weakness, but signals showing you where to build your strength. They are not the enemy, but the raw, powerful energy that, when mastered, can fuel a life of extraordinary discipline, purpose, and inner peace. Thank you for undertaking this warrior's training with us. Your dedication to understanding and mastering your inner world is the highest form of self-respect and the foundation of a life well lived. If this guide has empowered you, please like the video, comment with the strategy you will practice first, and subscribe to Stoic Dominion, where we will continue to forge unbreakable minds.